Aloha, it's CreativeNameToStandOut again with another battle report. Recently I found a new game store. It's called Westside Comics and Games. It's in Kapolei. So if you're in the Oahu region here in Hawaii, just swing on by there. It's a really nice store. It's a little small, but I really like this place. They're the first of the 4 stores here on the island that did anything to push fantasy specifically. So I just wanted to showcase them here. We go into the campaign, and there are some rules about army composition that are different from the rulebook. You can read them here. Really, the only thing I'm going to point out verbally will be that the Lord section says you can only have 1 Lord during the whole campaign. There is an exception, but currently the normal rules are you can only have 1 Lord. It essentially represents you, and if he dies, you die. And this will really keep people from actually bringing Lords until they get cornered in their home territory, and they're just forced to play them. So I liked it. It was pretty cool. And then each time you conquer a territory, you will randomly generate, I guess, a territory bonus. And these are the bonuses. You can see that you roll 2 dice, and you get what you get. And so there are ways to get another Lord. I think it's the Holy Temple. I can't read it from here, but there is something on there. Um, and I don't know, this is very interesting. You can earn gold, which will allow you to spend up to 150 or 250 points more on your normal games. And the games will range from 1200 points to 1500 points. And then here we see that this is the campaign map. Mine is the purple down there. You can see the Dark Elves. I picked this region only because I'm thinking, where's the Dark Elf going to land his invasion? Off the coast, of course, and I'm just traveling up the river. And currently I even own the next portion of river that you see on the map going into the right corner. So here's my first game. I was just annexing territories in my first turn, but a Tomb King player who was near my territories launched a raid, and here I am defending against the raid. Alright, so let's jump into deployment. We have his War Sphinx on the far right, then he has 11 archers with 2 wizards. One of those wizards actually is counting towards his core points limit, so he gets to spend, that's pretty handy. He has a territory bonus that lets him spend points for his wizard hero in core. Then he has the big sarcophagus thing, I forget what it's called, I'm sorry, and then his horde of skeleton warriors with his 2 prints. So there is Tomb King's deployment. Okay, so we go into my deployment, and I don't have any territory bonuses that just don't generate gold, so they're not going to reflect, my army's not reflecting my bonuses at all in this game. We have, in my far right corner, 5 Dark Riders with shields and repeater crossbows, a Cold Wind Chariot, then I think it's 20 Executioners with a level 2 Dark Magic Mage, and then we have 18 of my Witch Elves, and then finally 5 Doomfire Warlocks. After we both deploy, I vanguard both of the fast cav units on both of my flanks. We roll to see who gets first turn, and Tomb Kings win that. So let's go into Tomb Kings turn 1. Alright, so the Tomb King's turn 1 is pretty short and sweet. He moves up his Cimmerian War Sphinx, he goes into magic, he tries to cast the movement spell again on the War Sphinx to get him in range so he can blow fire on my Dark Riders. I use all my Dispel dice to stop it, and then he goes to cast the Casket of Light on my Doomfire Warlocks, and he gets it off, but I pass my leadership test on 3d6. So there goes his turn, and we go into Dark Elves turn 1. Alright, so we go into Dark Elf turn 1, and the first thing that happens is my Cold Wind Chariot fails its Stupidity test. However, it's inconsequential because when I roll the Stupidity movement, I roll a 6, and that's only really a 1-inch loss. So it's not terribly bad. Everything else kind of pushes forward. My thinking here is really based on my incorrect deployment, and I'll go into that at the end. But as is, I'm moving both of my blocks towards the warriors because I'm not in a position or in a good matchup against the War Sphinx. And so instead of sending one block towards the War Sphinx, the Executioners, I'm just going to send them both towards the Horde. That way, if he gets a good magic phase and kind of decimates one of my blocks, I still have the whole other block intact, and I should be able to handle the Horde of warriors. Meanwhile, I'm going to use my 2 units of fast cav to finish off the skeleton archers and get rid of the bunker for these guys. And as you can see here in this picture, I do a pretty good job, but my archers are not able to finish off the stragglers. So we go into Tomb King turn 1, and we'll see what happens. Alright, so here we go into Tomb King's turn 2. And he has very little movement again. He's going to cast some spells in the magic phase, and he's moving his Chimerian War Sphinx around to flame my Dark Riders. In the magic phase, he casts Usurian's Incantation of Vengeance. This will remove D3 movement from them, and if I do move, I'm going to take dangerous terrain checks. And this will really cause me to stay in place, but in hindsight, this spell is probably not that powerful against a small unit with a bunch of ward saves, so I'll probably not mind it so much. He gets it off irresistibly, but he gets back 3 skeletons, so it doesn't matter. In the shooting phase, he goes over to the Chimerian War Sphinx. He lays the Flame Temple down, hits all 5 of them, fails to wound 1, and then he wounds the others. But I roll a 6, 6, and a 5, 6, 6, 6, and a 5 for my saves. So this is just one of those games where a person's good luck is going to trump somebody else's strategy. He plinks off another Dark Rider, but in this game, like so far, I'm making a lot of mistakes, and I will go over these at the end like I usually do. And my opponent is doing a really good job on following up and trying to capitalize on my mistakes to the point where if everything was going as it should, he should be slowly dissecting my army. But as it is, I'm just rolling stupid, and it's just not fair. So it's just ridiculous. And with that great look, I go ahead and charge my Dark Riders into the Casket of Souls. This is what the board looks like after movement. We go into the magic phase, and I cast Soul Blight. I just outdiced him, and with that, that's really going to help me here in the combat. So after combat, I go ahead and kill the Cast of Souls. It blows up, and it kills the Dark Riders, but leaves everything else relatively unscathed. So that's my turn 2, and we go into Tomb King's turn 3. He declares his first charge as the Chimerian War Sphinx into the flank of my Executioners. I didn't feel very confident in that combat. Not only am I getting hit in the flank, but this particular model has a rule where he can place this small template down and kill a lot of my guys. And without a BSB and just being toughness 8 and having very little attacks back at it with strength 6, it just wasn't a winning proposition for me. So I went ahead and fled, and he redirected and charged my chariot, which was better for me. I mean, he would probably demolish my chariot, and but at least he'd be away from my blocks, which is I want that to happen until I can deal with that one horde unit. Alright, so after I flee, I end up here, and then he declares a charge of this horde of skeleton warriors into my warlocks. And again, here it is, my opponent capitalizing on a mistake I made, and it's not moving my warlocks previously. And actually, again, I don't know why I didn't flee from this charge. That would have been optimal too, because if he would have charged the warlocks, I flee. If he wanted to redirect to my executioners, I flee. He probably doesn't catch them, and then he's just left there with my witches. But either way, I chose to stand, and now if he beats the warlocks, he's going to overrun. And even though it doesn't look like there's enough space here, there's plenty of room for him just to move past my witches and touch my executioners, thereby killing 2 units in 1 charge. So this was again a pretty bad mistake on my part, and kudos to my opponent for capitalizing on this. So we'll see how the combat goes and move on from there. He goes to the magic, he tries casting spells. At this point, I do use my Dispel Scroll, so I am able to shut his phase down. We go into combat, and again, just because of sheer good luck, we go into combat, and he only kills 2 of my warlocks, and I kill a lot of guys back. He loses combat, and his back rank's pretty much gone. So my second time, and this is the most critical time, my good luck trumps strategy. Alright, so continuing the theme of the improbable, he charges his Chimerian War Sphinx into my chariot. He does 2 wounds. I, however, roll 2 6s to wound him with my charioteers, and I lose by 1 because of the charge, and I pass my leadership 9, therefore 8 test. So, again, for all rights, I should have lost here. I should have lost to the warlocks. I probably should have lost my executioners, and currently I should only have the witches. But you roll dice, and that's what happens. Alright, so with that miraculous stand by the Doomfire Warlocks, it really leaves a perfect counter charge for my witches to make. So they go in there and they charge. I believe he cast the Incantations of Vengeance on the witches, so they do take some dangerous terrain checks, and I lose a couple. But otherwise, I go in there, and I'm ready for magic. In the magic phase, I get off Soul Blight. So that's really just going to seal the deal for this combat. And as you can see here, I take off 2 ranks and a little bit more. Then we go over to the far right with the War Sphinx versus the Chariot. And this time my Cold Ones rolled the 6s, and he fails to do any wounds back. He takes his leadership check, and he fails enough to lose the last wound. So, with the fall of the Cimmerian War Sphinx, the Dark Elves pulled out a very undeserved victory, and I can say that very confidently because I made a ton of mistakes from deployment to movement to decision making when combats came up, and it was through my sheer good fortune that I was able to escape from my opponent's attempts to capitalize on these mistakes. Uh, yeah, that I was able to escape it and then ultimately win this. So I don't think that I think if you're fairly objective and you're looking at this game, you can say that the person who played better was the one who lost rather than won. So kudos to my opponent. He did very good, and it was just my ridiculousness in rolling that pulled this out for me. Sorry. So let's talk about some of the mistakes I made, and while you look at some of these pictures, things that caught my eyes, and at the end there's something that I'm working on that you may enjoy looking at. So mistakes. First mistake, deployment. I kind of mindlessly deployed. I put both of my fast cav on either flank out of habit rather than for purpose, and so when it came time to implement what their role was, they were on opposing flanks and not working in conjunction with each other as well as they could have. Um, Also, I think that when I moved my Dark Riders, I moved their Vanguard move very mindlessly. I put them in unnecessary danger. Had he gotten off the magic spell, he could have flamed them a turn earlier. And then when given a second chance to redeploy them in a more favorable position away from danger, I again just pushed them forward to the center, expose them to the flame template, and it was through my miraculous dice rolling that I got out of that unscathed and able to take out the Casket of Souls. When we talk about the deployment of my middle lines, I definitely should have put the witches who are more apt at taking out the Cimmerian War Sphinx in the center, rather than the executioners who wouldn't have fared well even if they were facing the War Sphinx. So that was a pretty big mistake. And then finally, my decision making was very poor because I definitely should have fled with those warlocks, and for whatever reason I didn't. And that would have left me open to a devastating turn in which he would have defeated the warlocks had I failed more ward saves and then had overrun into my executioner block, leaving me essentially with only 1 unit left on the board because, I still feel that the chariot should have lost to the War Sphinx. But things like that happen, and unfortunately for my opponent, my luck was just on fire today. And so in this campaign, the first round, I was able to successfully defend from a raid. Um, you know, Nothing terribly bad came out of it. It was just a win. So I hope you enjoyed this game. This will be released periodically. We're doing a monthly campaign game. These will be released monthly, surprise. And so if you enjoyed it, please like this, subscribe if you haven't already subscribed. And I do enjoy reading your comments. I do like them. Sometimes I respond, other times I don't know what to say. So you can always guarantee that I will like your comments, unless you're a total tool of me. So I hope you enjoyed it, and I'll see you next time.